The art room smelled like paint and old paper. Nora Bennett sat by the window, working on a sketch of the harbor. Outside, the afternoon sun made the ocean sparkle like broken glass. Most students had gone home hours ago, but she liked staying late. The quiet helped her think. Her pencil moved across the page, adding details to the fishing boats. Mrs. Wilson, the art teacher, had already left, trusting Nora to lock up. That was the nice thing about small towns. People trusted each other. A flash of light made her look up. Something bright streaked across the sky, leaving a trail of blue fire. Not a plane, not a meteor either. It moved too deliberately, changing direction as it fell toward the hills behind the school. Nora dropped her pencil and ran to the window. The object disappeared behind the trees, and a moment later, the ground shook. Not hard, just enough to rattle the jars of brushes on the shelves. A distant boom echoed across town. She grabbed her phone and backpack, then rushed out of the art room. The hallway was empty. Her sneakers squeaked on the linoleum as she ran toward the exit. Whatever had crashed, it was close. Maybe a small plane. Someone might need help. Outside, she heard shouting from the football field. Dr. Foster, her biology teacher, stood near the bleachers with Mr. Patterson, the janitor. They were both staring at the woods beyond the track. Nora jogged over to them. "Did you see that?" Dr. Foster asked without looking at her. His hands shook as he adjusted his glasses. "Tell me you saw that too." "I saw it," Nora said. "Should we call someone?" "Already did," Mr. Patterson said, holding up his phone. "Fire department's on the way. Police too." Smoke rose from the trees, thin and gray. Not the black smoke of burning fuel. Something else. The air smelled strange, like metal and ozone after a lightning strike. "We should wait here," Dr. Foster said, but his voice lacked conviction. He was already walking toward the woods. Nora and Mr. Patterson followed. The trees weren't thick here, mostly pine and oak. They found the crash site easily. A clearing had been carved through the forest, branches snapped, and earth torn up in a straight line. At the end of the trail sat something that made Nora's brain struggle to understand what her eyes were seeing. It was a ship. Not a plane or a helicopter. A ship that belonged in movies, not in the woods behind Riverside High School. The hull was smooth and dark, shaped like a teardrop lying on its side. Glowing symbols ran along the surface, pulsing with soft blue light. A crack ran down one side, and smoke leaked from it in lazy curls. "Holy hell," Mr. Patterson whispered that a section of the hull slid open with a sound like grinding stone. Nora's heart hammered in her chest. Dr. Foster grabbed her arm, pulling her back, but she didn't run. She couldn't. She had to see. Something stepped out of the ship. Someone. A person, but not human. Tall, maybe 7 feet, with 4 arms and scales that shimmered between green and bronze. The head was broad and flat, with eyes like polished amber. The creature wore armor that seemed to grow from its body rather than being strapped on. Behind it, a smaller figure emerged. This one had feathers instead of scales, blue and silver, with a sharp beak and intelligent eyes that reminded Nora of a hawk. The 4-armed alien looked around the clearing, its gaze sweeping across the damaged trees. When it saw the 3 humans, it went very still. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then the feathered alien touched a device on its wrist. A voice came from it, speaking English with a strange accent. "Do not be frightened. We mean no harm. Our vessel experienced malfunction." Dr. Foster found his voice first. "Who are you? What are you?" The larger alien spoke, and the device translated. "I am General Thuras of the Hegemony Fleet. This is Lieutenant Kyra, my aide. We are here on official business of the Galactic Coalition." "Galactic Coalition," Mr. Patterson repeated, sounding dazed. "Right, of course." Nora stepped forward before she could stop herself. Dr. Foster tried to hold her back, but she shrugged off his hand. The general's amber eyes fixed on her, and she felt very small. But she'd asked plenty of scary questions before. This was just another one. "Why are you here?" she asked. "On Earth, I mean." General Thuras tilted his head, studying her. "A direct question. I approve." He looked at the damaged ship, then back at Nora. "We are here to evaluate your species. to determine if humanity is worthy of joining the coalition. Worthy? Nora frowned. Who decides that? I do, Thuras said simply. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. The general scales shifted color, darkening slightly. Lieutenant Kyra spoke quickly in their own language. Thuras responded, his tone sharp. Your authorities approach, the translation device said. This complicates matters. They'll want answers, Dr. Foster said, finally stepping up beside Nora. The government, the military. They'll have questions. I am certain they will, Thuras said. He looked at his damaged ship again. But my vessel requires repair before I can depart. And I have not completed my evaluation. So what happens now? Nora asked. Thuras regarded her with those strange amber eyes. Now I wait. I observe. I judge whether your species deserve a place among the stars or should remain here, alone and ignorant. He paused. I suspect I already know the answer. His tone suggested humanity had already failed. Nora felt a spark of anger in her chest, but she pushed it down. Getting mad wouldn't help. You might be surprised, she said quietly. Thuras made a sound that might have been a laugh. I have evaluated 47 species, young human. I am rarely surprised. The sirens were very close now. Red and blue lights flickered through the trees. Nora looked at the general, at his massive form and his armor and his forearms. She thought about every alien invasion movie she'd ever seen. Every story where humans prove themselves through violence and technology. But standing there in the woods behind her school, with smoke rising from an alien ship and a general who'd already decided humanity wasn't worth his time, Nora realized something important. Those stories had it wrong. Fighting wouldn't prove anything to someone who commanded fleets. Technology wouldn't impress a civilization that crossed the stars. If humanity had any chance at all, it wouldn't come from being strong, that IT would come from being human. Then let me show you around, Nora said. Before you decide. Thuras stared at her. Lieutenant Kyra chirped something in their language. The general's scales rippled, a display Nora couldn't interpret. Very well, Thuras said finally. Show me your world, young human. Convince me I am wrong. Police cars burst into the clearing, officers shouting commands. Dr. Foster raised his hands. Mr. Patterson did the same. Nora stood between them and the aliens, her heart racing but her voice steady. It's okay, she called out. They're not here to hurt anyone. They just need help. And somehow, impossibly, she meant it. Sheriff Rodriguez didn't believe in aliens. She believed in drunk drivers, weather balloons, and teenagers with too much time on their hands. But standing in the woods behind Riverside High, staring at a 7-foot reptile with 4 arms, she had to reconsider her worldview. So let me get this straight, she said, holstering her weapon. You're here to judge us? Like some kind of cosmic talent show. Thuras's scales rippled. His translator converted his words into flat, emotionless English. A crude comparison, but essentially accurate. The coalition must ensure new species meet certain standards before integration. And if we don't meet your standards, then you remain isolated, alone, unprotected. The word unprotected hung in the air like a threat. More police cars arrived, followed by fire trucks and ambulances. Then news vans. Within an hour, the woods were full of people with cameras and questions. Someone had called the mayor. Someone else had called the governor. Doctor Foster pulled Nora aside while Thuras spoke with officials. You should go home, he said. This is going to get complicated fast. He said I could show him around, Nora argued, before he decides about humanity. Nora, this is bigger than a school project. The government will handle it. But the government wasn't handling it well. Politicians argued about jurisdiction. Military officers wanted to quarantine the aliens. Scientists demanded access for study. Everyone talked over each other, and nobody listened. Thuras stood in the middle of the chaos, watching with those amber eyes. Lieutenant Kyra perched on a fallen log, her feathers ruffling in the evening breeze. Neither alien seemed impressed. After 2 hours of arguing, Thuras raised one of his 4 hands. The gesture was small, but everyone fell silent. This is inefficient, he said. My vessel requires 3 days to repair. During this time, I will conduct my evaluation. You may observe, but do not interfere. He looked directly at Nora. The young human offered to guide me. I accept. Absolutely not, Sheriff Rodriguez said. She's 16 years old. I am 473 years old, Thuras replied. Age is irrelevant. She asked the right question. Why are you here? Not what do you want or what will you do to us. She wanted to understand purpose. That shows wisdom. The sheriff looked ready to argue, but the mayor stepped in. A short woman with gray hair and a practical manner. She'd been mayor for 20 years and didn't scare easily. If the general wants a tour guide, we'll accommodate him, she said. But Nora's parents need to approve, and she'll have protection. Nora's mom arrived 30 minutes later, driving too fast and looking terrified. She hugged Nora so tight it hurt, then spent 20 minutes interrogating Thuras about his intentions. The general answered every question with patience that surprised everyone. Your daughter will not be harmed, he said finally. I give you my word as a general of the hegemony fleet. Her safety is guaranteed. And what's your word worth? Nora's mom asked. Thuras's scales darkened to almost black. I have commanded fleets for 2 centuries. I have never broken an oath. Not once. Something in his voice made Nora's mom believe him. She agreed, but only if Dr. Foster went along and Nora checked in every hour. The next morning, Nora met Thuras at the town square. Lieutenant Kyra came too, along with 2 police officers and a very nervous Dr. Foster. News crews followed at a distance, cameras rolling. Where do we start? Thuras asked. Nora thought about it. How do you show someone what humanity is? Not with buildings or technology. Those wouldn't impress someone who traveled between stars. She needed to show him people. The harbor, she said. People are heading out for the day. You can watch how we work. They walked down Main Street. People stopped and stared, but nobody panicked. This was a fishing town. Folks here had seen strange things. Maybe not aliens, but strange enough they could see the harbor. Boats were preparing to leave. Fishermen checked nets and engines. Nora introduced Thuras to Captain Anderson, who'd been fishing these waters for 40 years. So you're the alien everyone's talking about, Anderson said, shaking his head. My wife thought I was crazy when I told her. She still might be right. You extract food from the ocean, Thuras observed. Why not synthesize nutrition more efficiently? Because fishing's not just about food, Anderson explained. It's about tradition. My grandfather taught my father taught me, and I'll teach my son. It's who we are. Thuras didn't understand. Nora could see it in the way his scales shifted color, processing information that didn't fit his expectations. They watched the boats leave, then walked to the community center. Mrs. Kim ran a food bank there, distributing meals to families who needed help. Thuras studied the operation with interest. These humans cannot provide for themselves, he asked. Some are going through hard times, Nora explained. Lost jobs, medical bills, bad luck. The community helps until they get back on their feet. This is inefficient. Resources are wasted on those who cannot contribute. They're not waste, Mrs. Kim said sharply. She'd been listening. They're our neighbors. We take care of each other. Thuras made a note on a small device. Nora couldn't tell if he was impressed or disappointed. At tea lunch, they stopped at the diner. Betty, the owner, treated Thuras like any other customer. What do you have, Han? She asked. I do not consume Earth food, Thuras said. Then you can watch us eat, Betty replied. But you're still taking up a booth, so you owe me for coffee. Nora almost laughed at the expression on Thuras's face. She ordered a burger. Dr. Foster got soup. Lieutenant Kyra pecked at some bread, curious about human cuisine. Your species is confusing, Thuras said while they ate. You help the weak. You maintain traditions that serve no logical purpose. You waste resources on sentiment and emotion. Yet you have survived. What? Nora wiped ketchup from her chin. Maybe because of those things, not in spite of them. We help each other because we're stronger together. We keep traditions because they connect us to our past. We care about feelings because that's what makes life worth living. Feelings are irrelevant in survival, Thuras stated. Are they? Nora asked. The diner emptied fast once word spread about the Dominion Scouts. Families rushed home. Businesses closed. Within an hour, the streets looked like a ghost town. Only the news crews stayed, broadcasting footage of people preparing for the worst. Nora sat in the emergency command center that had been set up at Town Hall. Military officers filled the room, talking on phones and studying maps that wouldn't help against aliens. Thuras stood by the window, watching the organized chaos with his usual blank expression. "How long do we have?" Sheriff Rodriguez asked. "Their scouts move slowly," Thuras said. 2 days, perhaps 3, before they reach Earth. The main fleet will follow if the scouts report favorable conditions. Favorable for what? Conquest. The words settled over the room like ash. Mayor Walsh, who'd been listening quietly, stepped forward. "What do they want? Resources? Territory? Everything," Lieutenant Kyra said, her translator making her voice sound hollow. "The Dominion does not negotiate. They arrive, they assess, they take. Species that resist are eliminated. Those that surrender become servants. Then we fight," a military officer said. Several others nodded. Thuras turned from the window. "With what? Your most advanced weapons are primitive compared to Dominion technology. They have conquered 42 civilizations in the past century alone. Some fought. All lost. So what, we just give up?" Nora asked. "I did not say that." Thuras crossed two of his arms, a gesture Nora had learned meant he was thinking. But fighting requires strategy, not merely courage. The Coalition has been attempting to stop the Dominion for decades. We have superior numbers, but inferior adaptability. They learn from each battle, modify their tactics, exploit weaknesses we cannot compensate for quickly enough. "Because you're too logical," Nora said, remembering their earlier conversation. "Perhaps." Dr. Foster had been quiet, but now he spoke up. "If the Coalition can't stop them, what makes you think we can?" "I do not think you can," Thuras admitted. "But I hope you might offer insight we have overlooked. A different perspective. The Coalition species all think similarly. We value efficiency, logic, order. Humanity values chaos, emotion, irrationality. Perhaps that difference could matter." "You're asking us to save you," Nora said. "I am asking if you are worth saving," Thuras corrected. "This is your evaluation, remember? How you respond to this crisis will determine my recommendation to the Coalition." Before anyone could reply, alarms blared. Every phone in the room buzzed at once. A young officer ran in from the communications room, his face pale. "There's been an accident on Route 9, he gasped. "Car crash. Multiple vehicles. Rescue crews are on their way. But there's a problem." "What problem?" the sheriff demanded. "The bridge over Miller's Creek. It's blocked by the wreckage. Fire truck can't get through, and there's someone trapped in one of the cars. It's sinking into the creek." The room exploded into action. Sheriff Rodriguez grabbed her radio. Two officers ran for their vehicles. Mayor Walsh was already on the phone with the fire department. Thuras watched all this with interest. "You mobilize quickly. Someone's in danger," Nora said. "We have to help, even with Dominion scouts approaching. This individual is not strategically valuable. Logic suggests focusing resources on a larger threat." Nora stared at him. "We don't leave people behind. Ever." Something in her voice made Thuras tilt his head. "Show me," he said. They drove to the accident scene in Sheriff Rodriguez's car, lights flashing. Thuras and Kyra came too, against the sheriff's better judgment. The bridge came into view, and Nora's stomach dropped. 3 cars had collided. 2 were on the bridge, damaged but stable. The third had gone through the old guardrail and was nose down in the creek, water rushing around it. The rear end stuck up at an angle, sinking slowly into the mud. Fire trucks sat on the far side, unable to cross. The wreckage blocked the narrow bridge completely. Firefighters were trying to move debris, but it was slow work. "Someone's in that car," a woman shouted from the roadside. "I saw her. A young mother. Her baby's in the back seat." Nora felt ice in her chest. Thuras stood beside her, observing with those amber eyes that revealed nothing. "The water's rising," Dr. Foster said. "They don't have much time." Sheriff Rodriguez coordinated with the fire chief over the radio. They needed heavy equipment to clear the bridge. That would take at least 20 minutes. The car didn't have 20 minutes. People gathered on the roadside, watching helplessly. Some filmed on their phones. Others prayed. Nobody knew what to do. Then Mr. Anderson, the fisherman from the harbor, pushed through the crowd. He was 65, with a bad knee and gray hair. But he walked straight to the creek's edge and started taking off his boots. "What are you doing?" the sheriff called. "What nobody else is doing," Anderson replied. "Helping." He waded into the water. It was cold, spring runoff from the mountains, and fast-moving. Anderson struggled against the current, but kept going. When the water reached his waist, he grabbed onto the car's rear bumper. Other people saw him and moved. A construction worker ran to his truck and grabbed a rope. Two teenage boys from the high school football team waded in to help Anderson. Dr. Foster, despite his fear of water, followed them. Nora started forward, but Sheriff Rodriguez held her back. "You're not going in there, but I can help. You can help by staying safe." So Nora stood on the shore, watching her teacher and her neighbors risk their lives for someone they didn't know. The construction worker tied the rope to the car. Others formed a chain, pulling together. The rear door opened. Water rushed in, but someone reached inside and pulled out a car seat. A baby, maybe a year old, screaming but alive. The football players passed the seat hand to hand until it reached the shore, but the mother was still inside, trapped somehow. The car sank deeper. Water covered the windows. Anderson dove under. He was gone for seconds that felt like hours. When he surfaced, he was coughing, but he had the woman with him. She was unconscious but breathing. Everyone pulled together. The rope went taut. Slowly, fighting the current and the mud and the weight of the sinking car, they hauled both people to safety. Paramedics rushed in. The woman woke up, confused and terrified, until someone put her baby in her arms. Then she just cried and held her child tight. Anderson sat on the ground, soaking wet and exhausted. Someone wrapped a blanket around him. He waved off the attention. "Anyone would have done it," he said. But that wasn't true, and everyone knew it. Not everyone would have risked their life for a stranger. Not everyone would have waded into freezing water with no guarantee of success. Nora looked at Thuris. The general stood very still, his scales shifting through colors she'd never seen before. "You helped the weak," he said quietly. "You risked valuable individuals to save those with no strategic importance. You acted against logic and self-interest." "We saved a mother and her baby," Nora replied. "That's all that matters." "But why?" Thuris pressed. "You gain nothing. The woman cannot repay you. The child contributes nothing to your species' survival. From any logical standpoint, this was wasteful." "You're wrong," Dr. Foster said. He was dripping wet, but smiling. "We gained everything that matters. We're not just a collection of individuals trying to survive. We're a community. We take care of each other. That mother and baby are part of us now. We save them because that's who we are." Thuris was silent for a long time. Lieutenant Kyra chirped softly. The general responded in their language, his tone uncertain. Finally, he looked at Nora. "In all my evaluations of 47 species, I have never seen anything like this. It defies every principle of efficient survival." "Maybe survival isn't just about efficiency," Nora said. "Maybe it's about being worth surviving for." The general's scales rippled, that pattern of discomfort again. Or maybe it was something else. Maybe it was doubt. "The Dominion scouts will still arrive," he said. "This changes nothing." "It changes everything," Nora argued. "You asked what makes humanity different. This is it. We don't calculate the value of a life. We don't decide who deserves to be saved. We just help because that's what we do. Emotion, sentiment, illogical, human." Thuris stared at her. Around them, people were cleaning up, helping the injured, comforting the frightened. Nobody was thinking about Dominion scouts or galactic evaluations. They were just being themselves. "I need to think," Thuris said finally. He turned and walked back to the car. Lieutenant Kyra lingered a moment. She looked at Nora with those sharp bird eyes and spoke without the translator, just soft chirps that sounded almost sad. Then she followed her general, leaving Nora standing by the creek, wondering if humanity had just passed a test or failed one. The baby's crying faded as the ambulance drove away. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and gold. Tomorrow, the Dominion scouts would be closer. Tomorrow, everything might change, but tonight, A mother held her child, and a community went home knowing they'd done the right thing. Nora hoped that would be enough. Nora couldn't sleep. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about Dominion scouts and alien invasions, and whether anything she'd shown Thuras actually mattered. Around 2 in the morning, she gave up and went downstairs. Her mom sat at the kitchen table, drinking tea and reading news on her tablet. She looked up when Nora appeared. "Can't sleep either?" she asked. "Too much in my head." Nora poured herself some tea and sat down. "Mom, do you think we have a chance?" Against the Dominion. Her mom was quiet for a moment. "I don't know, honey, but I know this. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. That's what we do." The same thing Dr. Foster had said at the creek. The same thing everyone kept saying. We take care of each other. We don't leave people behind. But would that be enough against an enemy that had conquered 42 civilizations? Her phone buzzed. A message from Dr. Foster. "Thuras wants to talk." Town hall. Now. Nora showed her mom, who sighed but grabbed her car keys. 20 minutes later, they walked into the emergency command center. It was nearly empty at this hour, just a few tired officers and Mayor Walsh, who looked like she hadn't slept in days. Thuras stood by the window again, watching the dark ocean. Lieutenant Kyra perched nearby, her feathers ruffled. "You asked to see me," Nora said. The general turned. His scales were a deep bronze color, almost sad. "I need to tell you something. About my world. About why I am truly here." Everyone gathered closer. Thuras gestured to a screen on the wall, and Lieutenant Kyra activated it. Images appeared. A planet, beautiful and green, with 3 moons hanging in a purple sky. "My homeworld," Thuras said. Herados Prime. Population 4 billion. Advanced civilization, member of the Coalition for 6 centuries. Peaceful, prosperous, logical. The images changed. Fire. Destruction. Cities burning. Ships falling from the sky. The Dominion arrived 12 years ago. We had warning, 3 days to prepare. The Coalition sent ships to defend us. We had superior numbers, better technology, tactical advantage. Thuras's voice grew quieter. We lost in 18 hours. Nora felt sick. The images showed survivors being marched away in chains. Children crying. Families separated. "I commanded the orbital defense platform," Thuras continued. "My orders were clear. Hold position. Maintain the line. Ensure strategic assets were protected." He paused. Below my platform was the capital city. 2 million civilians evacuating. Transport ships loading refugees. They needed time. "What did you do?" Mayor Walsh asked softly. "I violated my orders. I abandoned my post and took my platform down to cover the evacuations. We saved 600,000 people before the Dominion destroyed my ship. I escaped in a pod with my crew." Lieutenant Kyra chirped something. Thuras responded in their language, his tone heavy. "My wife and child were in the capital," he said. "I got them out. But in doing so, I left the orbital line weak. The Dominion broke through. They took the planet faster because of my choice." The room was silent. "The Coalition court-martialed me," Thuras said. "I was demoted, disgraced. They said I let emotion override duty. That my illogical choice to save civilians cost us the planet." His scales shifted to almost black. They were right. By every logical calculation, I made the wrong choice. "But you saved 600,000 people," Nora said. 600,000 against 4 billion. The Dominion enslaved everyone we left behind. If I had held my position, we might have won. We might have saved everyone. Or you might have lost anyway, Dr. Foster said. And those 600,000 would have died too. Perhaps. Thuras looked at Nora. "I told you I have evaluated 47 species. I did not tell you why. The Coalition kept me in service because I am broken. I failed them through emotion and sentiment. They believed I might recognize those same weaknesses in other species. That I could identify civilizations too emotional to be useful." "That's horrible," Nora said. "That is logical," Thuras replied. "And for 11 years, I have done my duty. I have rejected every species I evaluated. Too emotional, too chaotic, too irrational. I recommended isolation for all of them. But you didn't fail because of emotion," Nora argued. You failed because the Dominion was stronger. And you saved all those people because you cared about them. That's not weakness. The coalition disagrees. They say caring is what makes species vulnerable. That attachment is a liability. That we must be cold, efficient, logical to survive. Thuras looked at the images of his burning world. And yet we are losing, slowly but certainly. The Dominion adapts faster than we do. They learn from each battle. And we cannot change quickly enough. Because we are too rigid. So you came looking for a different kind of species, Mayor Walsh said. One that breaks the rules. I came looking for hope, Thuras admitted. And I have found something I did not expect. I have found a species that makes the same mistakes I made. That values individuals over strategy. That risks everything to save anyone. I do not know if that makes you humanity's strength or its doom. Nora stood and walked to the window beside him. Outside, the ocean rolled under starlight. Somewhere out there, Dominion scouts were getting closer. You said you saved 600,000 people, she said. Where are they now? Scattered among coalition worlds. Refugees. Survivors. Do they blame you for what happened? Thuras was quiet. Some do. Others thank me. I do not know which response troubles me more. I think you made the right choice, Nora said. Because you're here. Your wife and child are alive somewhere. Those 600,000 people got another chance. Maybe that's what matters. Not winning every battle, but making sure there are still people left to keep fighting. The coalition would say you're dangerously naive. The coalition is losing, Nora shot back. Maybe naive is what you need. Lieutenant Kyra chirped urgently. She pointed at her wrist device. Thuras checked his own and went very still. The scouts have altered course, he said. They're accelerating. They will reach Earth in 6 hours, not 2 days. The room erupted. Officers grabbed phones. Mayor Walsh started making calls. But Thuras raised one hand, silencing everyone. There is something else, he said. They are broadcasting a message. A demand. What do they want? Sheriff Rodriguez asked. Thuras activated the screen again. A face appeared. Not human. Not like Thuras or Kyra. Something else. Multiple eyes, mandibles, an expression that managed to convey contempt across species. The voice came through in harsh, mechanical English. Attention, primitive species. You harbor a coalition vessel and personnel. Surrender them within 6 hours, or your planet will be claimed by the Dominion. You have no choice. Compliance is inevitable. The screen went dark. They want you, Dr. Foster said to Thuras. That's what this is about. They want to prevent my evaluation, Thuras corrected. If I recommend humanity for coalition membership, you become protected. They cannot legally claim you. But if I have not completed my assessment, or if I recommend rejection, you remain isolated. Vulnerable. So we give them what they want, a military officer said. We hand over the aliens, they leave us alone. No, Nora said sharply. We don't do that. It's the logical choice, the officer argued. 2 aliens for 8 billion humans. The math is simple. Nora looked at her mom, at Mayor Walsh, at Dr. Foster. Then she looked at Thuras and saw something in his amber eyes. He was testing them still, waiting to see what humanity would choose when logic and emotion collided. We don't trade lives, Nora said firmly. That's not who we are. They came here for help. We don't hand them over to be killed or enslaved just because it's convenient. She's right, Sheriff Rodriguez said, surprising everyone. I took an oath to protect people. All people. That includes our visitors. Even if it means war, the officer demanded. Even then, one by one, others agreed. Mayor was Dr. Foster, Nora's mom. The decision rippled through the room. Protect the aliens. Face the consequences. Do the right thing, even when it was hard. Thuras watched all of this with an expression Nora couldn't read. Then, very slowly, his scales shifted to a color she'd never seen before. Pale gold, almost glowing. I have made my decision, he said quietly. I will recommend humanity for immediate coalition integration. You have passed the evaluation. Because we chose to protect you? Nora asked. Because you chose to protect anyone, Thuras replied. Even when it made no logical sense. Even when it endangered your entire species. That is what the coalition has lost. The willingness to risk everything for what is right, not what is efficient. But the scouts are still coming, Mayor Walsh said. What do we do now? Thurres straightened, and suddenly he looked less like a tired general and more like a commander preparing for battle. Now, he said, we show the Dominion why they should fear humanity. Dawn broke cold and gray. Nora stood on the roof of Town Hall, watching the sky and wondering if she'd see the Dominion scouts before they saw her. Beside her, Thurres worked on a portable console, his four hands moving rapidly across holographic displays. What are you doing? She asked. Sending my evaluation to the coalition, he replied. It will take 3 hours to reach the nearest relay station. Another 2 for confirmation. By then, the scouts will have arrived. So we're on our own until then. We have always been on our own, Thurres said. But yes, for the next 5 hours, Earth must stand alone. Down below, the town had transformed. People worked together, following plans that Thurres and the military had drawn up during the night. It wouldn't be enough to win a fight. Everyone knew that. But it might be enough to survive until help arrived. Lieutenant Kyra landed beside them, her wings folding with a soft rustle. She chirped at Thurres, and he responded in their language. Whatever she said made his scales darken. The scouts have sent another message, Thurres said. They're giving Earth one final chance to surrender me peacefully. If we refuse, they will attack. And you want to know what we're going to say? Nora guessed. I know what you will say. I want to know if you understand what it will cost. Nora looked at the town below, at the people preparing for something they couldn't possibly be ready for. Mr. Anderson was down there, directing people despite his age. Mrs. Kim was organizing supplies. Betty from the diner was making sandwiches for everyone. Normal people doing what they could. When you saved those 600,000 people, Nora said, did you know it would cost you everything? Yes. But you did it anyway. Yes. Then you already know our answer. Thurres made a sound that might have been a sigh. You remind me of someone. My daughter. She was very brave, very foolish, very human in the best and worst ways. Thurres corrected softly. She is alive, somewhere in the coalition. I have not seen her in 12 years, but she is alive because I made an illogical choice. Nora felt a lump in her throat. What's her name? Shara. He said it carefully, like the word hurt. She would like you, I think. You ask too many questions and accept too few easy answers. Just like her. Before Nora could respond, alarms blared across town. Every phone buzzed at once. People pointed at the sky. 3 ships descended through the clouds. Smaller than Thurres' scout ship, but sleeker, more aggressive. They moved like predators, circling the town in a formation that was clearly designed to intimidate. They are here, Thurres said unnecessarily. 1 ship landed in the town square. The other 2 remained airborne, weapons visible on their hulls. A ramp extended from the grounded ship, and something walked out. The Dominion soldier was insectoid, with 6 legs and 4 arms ending in razor-sharp claws. Its exoskeleton gleamed like polished black metal. Multiple eyes studied the gathered humans with what looked like contempt that a speaker crackled. This is Commander Vectis of the Dominion Vanguard. You have harbored coalition personnel in violation of territorial sovereignty. Surrender them now, and your species will be granted servitude status. Resist and face annihilation. Mayor Walsh stepped forward, her voice amplified by a megaphone. This is Earth. These people came here peacefully, and we don't hand over guests to bullies. You can leave the same way you came, or we can have a problem. The insectoid tilted its head. Then it laughed. The sound was horrible, like grinding metal. You are primitives. Your weapons are toys. Your ships cannot leave your own atmosphere. You threaten me? We're not threatening, Mayor Walsh said. We're telling you how it is. Leave peacefully or leave the hard way. Your choice. Commander Vectis stopped laughing. It made a gesture, and one of the airborne ships rotated, weapons charging with an ominous hum. Demonstrate your resolve, the commander said. I will destroy one of your structures. Choose which one, or I will choose for you. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then Nora heard herself say, the old lighthouse. North in a town. It's been abandoned for years. Nobody goes there. The commander's eyes focused on her. You speak? A juvenile? She speaks for us, Sheriff Rodriguez said, stepping beside Nora. We choose the lighthouse. And then you leave. I do not leave. I demonstrate that resistance is futile. The lighthouse will be destroyed, and then you will surrender, or I will choose a new target. This is how the Dominion operates. Through fear and inevitability. The airborne ship fired. A beam of energy lanced down, striking the old lighthouse. Stone and metal vaporized instantly. The structure collapsed in on itself, leaving only rubble and smoke. People screamed. Some ran, but most stayed, watching with expressions caught between terror and rage. That is your future, Commander Vectis announced. Unless you comply. Now, where is the coalition general? Thuras stepped forward before anyone could stop him. He walked down from the town hall roof, moving with the dignity of someone who'd commanded fleets and faced worse things than insectoid bullies. I am here, he said, General Thuras of the Hegemony Fleet, and I will not surrender to you. The commander's mandibles clicked together. You have no choice. Your ship is damaged. You have no weapons. These primitives cannot protect you. You are correct, Thuras agreed. But you misunderstand the situation. I am not here to be protected. I am here because I have found what the Coalition has been searching for. And what is that? Hope. Commander Vectis laughed again. Hope? The Coalition trades in delusion now? How desperate you must be. We are desperate, Thuras admitted. And that is why we will win. Because desperate beings fight harder than comfortable ones. Because those with nothing to lose risk everything. And because humanity, this species you dismiss as primitive, has something the Dominion has never understood, which is the ability to care more about each other than themselves. The commander made a dismissive gesture. Sentiment. Weakness. The Dominion conquers because we are strong. You lose because you are soft. Then let me show you something, Thuras said. He turned to the crowd. People of Earth, I have sent my evaluation to the Coalition. In 4 hours, you will be officially recognized as a member species. Protected. But for the next 4 hours, you are undefended. The Dominion knows this. They will try to break you before the Coalition can respond. What they do not know is that you are already broken. Broken open. And that makes you stronger than any species I have encountered. He looked at Nora. Tell him. Tell him why you saved that woman and child at the creek. Nora's throat was dry, but she found her voice. Because she needed help. That's all. We don't think about strategy or value or what we get in return. We just help. Foolish, the commander said. Maybe, Nora replied. But we're still here. And you're worried enough to threaten us instead of just attacking. That tells me something. You're afraid. The insectoid went very still. The Dominion fears nothing. Then prove it, Nora challenged. You say you conquer through strength. But you need 4 hours. You need to stop the Coalition from protecting us. That sounds like fear to me. Commander Vectis's claws extended. The airborne ships adjusted their targeting. Everyone tensed, preparing for violence. But Thuras stepped between Nora and the Dominion commander. You came for me, he said. Let's negotiate. Surely the mighty Dominion can afford to talk before destroying. The commander studied him. What do you propose? For hours. You wait. If the Coalition does not respond, if my evaluation is rejected, I will surrender myself to you. Earth will be left alone. But if the Coalition accepts my recommendation, you leave peacefully. No battle. No destruction. And why would I agree to this? Because, Thuras said quietly, your orders are to prevent my evaluation, not to conquer Earth. If you attack now, you guarantee Coalition intervention. You force a confrontation. But if you wait, you might achieve your goal without triggering a wider conflict. Is that not the more logical approach? The commander was silent for a long moment. Its mandibles clicked in what might have been thought. For hours, it finally said, we wait. But know this, General, when the Coalition rejects your evaluation, when they declare this species too primitive and emotional to join them, I will take you. And then I will take this world, slowly and painfully, as an example to others who harbor Coalition fugitives. I understand, Thuras said. The commander returned to its ship. The ramp closed, but the vessels didn't leave. They just hovered there, waiting, watching. Thuras turned to the gathered humans. His scales were pale, almost white. "For hours," he said. "That is what I have bought you. I am sorry it is not more." Mayor Walsh touched his arm. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did. Because you would have done the same for me." Dr. Foster approached with his phone out. The coalition response is trending on every news network worldwide. People are watching, waiting to see if we get accepted. "And if we don't?" Sheriff Rodriguez asked. "Then I keep my word," Thuras said. "I surrender myself. Earth survives. That is what matters." "No," Nora said firmly. "That's not what matters. What matters is that we're in this together. All of us. And we don't leave anyone behind." "Even me?" Thuras asked. "Even an alien you met 3 days ago?" "Even you?" Nora said. "Because that's who we are." Thuras looked at her for a long moment. Then his SCA. 3 hours passed like years. The Dominion ships circled overhead, silent and menacing. People gathered in the town square, refusing to hide. If this was the end, they'd face it together. Nora sat on the steps of Town Hall with Thuras and Lieutenant Kyra. The general was unusually quiet, his scales cycling through colors she'd learned meant anxiety. "Tell me about Shara," Nora said, trying to distract him. "Your daughter." Thuras's scales settled into a softer bronze. "She was 12 when the Dominion attacked. Brilliant. Stubborn. She wanted to be a scientist, not a soldier. She hated that I was always away commanding fleets." He paused. "After the evacuation, after the court-martial, she told me she was proud of me, that I had made the right choice. I had not expected that." "Why not?" "Because I had failed. By every military standard, I had failed completely." "You saved her life," Nora pointed out. "That's not failure." The coalition disagrees. They value the collective over the individual. Losing one planet to save billions elsewhere is considered acceptable. Logical. "That's horrible." "That is survival," Thuras said. "Or so we believed. But we are losing anyway." "Perhaps logic is not enough." Lieutenant Kyra chirped softly. She'd been monitoring communications, listening to broadcasts from around the world. She showed them her device. News feeds from every country. People gathering. Millions of them. Holding signs, chanting, broadcasting messages into space. "We stand with Earth," one sign read. "Humanity united," said another. "Not afraid." "Your species surprises me again," Thuras said. "The Dominion threatens, and instead of panicking, you come together." "It's what we do best," Dr. Foster said, joining them. "We're better together than apart. Always have been." The clock ticked down. 1 hour left. 30 minutes. 15. Then Thuras's wrist device chimed. He looked at it, and his scales went completely still, frozen in place. "What is it?" Nora asked. "The coalition has responded." His voice was barely a whisper. "They have accepted my recommendation. Earth is now under coalition protection. Official integration will begin immediately." Cheers erupted across the square. People hugged, cried, celebrated. But Thuras didn't move. "General," Nora touched his arm. "We made it. We're safe." "No," he said quietly. "Look." He pointed at the sky. The Dominion ships weren't leaving. If anything, they were moving into attack formation. Commander Vectus's voice crackled over the speakers. "Coalition recognition means nothing. Your defenses are non-existent. By the time coalition ships arrive, this planet will be ours. We will claim it and present the coalition with an unpleasant choice. War over one primitive world or acceptance of reality. That's against coalition law," Mayor Walsh shouted. "The Dominion does not recognize coalition law," the commander replied. "We recognize only strength, and you have none." The ships powered weapons. People screamed. Some ran, but most stood frozen, watching their doom descend. Then something impossible happened. A voice spoke. Not through speakers, not through any device Nora could see. It spoke directly into her mind, into everyone's mind, clear and powerful. "Dominion vessels, this is Fleet Commander Shara of the Coalition Rapid Response Division. You are in violation of protected space. Withdraw immediately." Thuras made a sound Nora had never heard before. A gasp, almost human. "Shara," he whispered, ships materialized in the sky above them. Not 3, but dozens. Sleek coalition warships, appearing from nowhere, surrounding the Dominion scouts. And at their head was a vessel that glowed with the same pale gold color as Thuris's hopeful scales. Impossible commander Victi said. The nearest coalition fleet is days away. You are correct, the voice in their mind said, which is why we have been stationed in this system for the past 72 hours. Since the moment my father sent his preliminary evaluation, I commanded the response fleet. I have been waiting. On the largest coalition ship, a ramp extended. Someone descended. Female, scaled like Thuris, but smaller, younger. Her scales were the same pale gold as her ship. She walked across the air itself, some kind of technology Nora couldn't understand, until she stood in the town square, face to face with her father. "Hello, father," Shara said through her translator. "I receive your message. About finding hope. About recommending a species that values emotion over logic. I thought I should come see for myself." Thuris stood very still. "You command a fleet now?" "You inspired me," Shara said. "After you were court-martialed for saving us, I joined the military. I argued that the coalition needed officers willing to break rules when rules failed. They disagreed, so I formed my own division. Ships crewed by survivors, by people you saved, by those who believe in your choices. That is insubordination." "Yes," Shara agreed. "I learned from the best." They stared at each other. Then Thuris pulled his daughter into an embrace, all 4 arms wrapped around her. She held him just as tightly. Above them, Commander Vectus's ship tried to flee. Coalition vessels blocked every escape route. The Dominion commander's voice crackled with rage. "This changes nothing. The Dominion will return. In greater numbers. You cannot protect this world forever." "You are right," Shara broadcast to all the ships. "We cannot protect them forever, which is why we will teach them to protect themselves. And more than that, we will learn from them, because they have something we forgot. Something my father remembered. The willingness to risk everything for what is right." "Sentiment," the commander spat. "Humanity," Shara corrected. "Now leave, before I demonstrate what happens when sentiment is backed by firepower." The Dominion ships departed, fleeing into the depths of space. Coalition vessels tracked them, ensuring they left the system completely. Nora stood beside Thuris and Shara, watching ships dance across the sky like impossible stars. "So what happens now?" she asked. Shara looked at her. "You are the young human who changed my father's mind. I just showed him around town." "You showed him hope," Shara said. "Something he had lost. Something all of us had lost." She turned to address the gathered crowd. "People of Earth, the Coalition welcomes you. We will share our technology, our knowledge, our protection. But more importantly, we hope you will share what you have. Your ability to care, your willingness to help, your stubborn insistence that every individual matters." The Coalition rejected those values before, Dr. Foster pointed out. "The Coalition was wrong," Shara said simply, "and we nearly died for it. But my father found a species that still remembered what we forgot. That survival is not just about living. It is about living for something." Mayor Walsh stepped forward. "What do you need from us?" "Nothing," Shara said. "And everything. Continue being who you are. Take care of each other. Show the galaxy that there is another way to survive. Not through cold logic alone, but through compassion backed by strength." She looked at Thuris. "Father, I was ordered to bring you back to face further judgment for your actions at Heratos Prime. But I have decided to ignore those orders. You're staying here to help integrate Earth into the Coalition, to teach them what you know, to learn from them what you forgot." "I accept," Thuris said. Then, softer, "Thank you, daughter." "Thank this world," Shara replied. "They reminded you who you are. Now you can remind the rest of us." She prepared to leave, but Nora called out. "Wait, will we see you again?" "Yes," Shara said. "The Dominion will return. They always do. But next time, Earth will be ready. And the Coalition will be different. Stronger, more human, in the best possible way." Her ship rose into the sky. The other Coalition vessels followed, leaving only a few behind as guardians. As the fleet disappeared, the sun broke through the clouds, painting everything in golden light. Thuris stood in the square, surrounded by humans who had risked everything to protect him, who had chosen compassion over logic, community over self-interest, hope over fear. "I have one question," he said to Nora. "After everything that has happened, after learning about the Dominion and the dangers you will face, do you regret it? Do you wish I had never come here?" Nora thought about the past few days. The fear, the uncertainty, the moments when she doubted everything. Then she thought about Mr. Anderson risking his life to save strangers. About her town coming together. About a daughter who'd waited 12 years for her father to find hope again. "No," she said. "I don't regret it at all." "Why not?" "Because you asked me a question at the very beginning. You want to know why we help people. Why we care about individuals, even when it's not logical. And now I understand something. You didn't come here to test us. You came here hoping we'd pass. Hoping we'd be different. Hoping we'd prove that there's another way to survive." Thurs's scales shifted to that pale gold. "Hope. You are wise beyond your years, Nora Bennett." "I just asked questions," she said. "That's what you said you liked about me, right?" "That I asked why instead of what." "And what is your next question?" Nora grinned. "What do we do now?" Thurs looked at the sky, at the town, at the people gathering to rebuild what had been damaged. At Lieutenant Kyra, who chirped happily. At this small planet that had reminded him what it meant to be alive. "Now," he said, "we show the galaxy that logic and emotion are not opposites. That strength and compassion can coexist. That survival is not just about lasting another day, but about making those days worthwhile.